Welcome back, dear listeners. I see you found your way into my library once again. That's good. That means you're curious. And curiosity is a very important thing, wouldn't you say? Now, today's tale is about a boy named Pete. A boy who was always looking beyond the gears and gadgets of his world, hoping for something more. But in Locksley, dreams were often tucked away like forgotten blueprints in a dusty old workshop. Sometimes the world has a way of surprising even the most practical of minds. But, my dear listeners, shall we begin? Locksley was not a place for dreamers. Oh, don't get me wrong, it was a city of innovation filled with whirring machines, grand brass towers, and steam-powered wonders. But if you asked any of the city's inventors, tinkerers, or clockmakers, they'd tell you that progress wasn't built on daydreams and hard work. That was the Piper family way. Now, Pete Piper was just 12 years old, but he had already heard his father say it 1,000 times. Hard work is all that matters, son. Daydreaming won't build machines. Daydreaming won't put gears in place. He spent his days working in Piper's clockworks. But Pete wasn't so sure. The family shop run by his father, Mr. Piper, a serious-looking man with tall, lean features and a gaze sharp enough to measure time itself. Mrs. Piper, on the other hand, was a sturdy woman with a determined face and a huge bun in her hair, always managing the workshop with a smile as strong as steel. And Pete, he was supposed to follow in their footsteps. But instead of gears, he collected stories. Instead of steam engines, he built dreams. But dreams had no place in the real world. At least, that's what he thought. Now, I know what you're thinking. Pete sounds like a boy who could use a bit of adventure, yes. But, my dear listeners, adventure doesn't always come knocking at the front door. No, sometimes you have to wander into a barn. One afternoon, Pete's mother handed him a task. "Go to the farm," she said, brushing metal shavings from her apron. "We need more brass tubing from your uncle's storage. And no dawdling." Pete nearly leapt out of his seat. The countryside. Away from the endless ticking of clocks. Away from the never-ending smell of oil and steam. "Yes, ma'am." Pete grinned, grabbing his brass goggles as he ran out the door. Now, the Piper family farm wasn't just any farm. Oh no, dear listeners. This was a steampunk farm, one where mechanical horses grazed, where clockwork chickens clucked as they laid tiny, gear-filled eggs, and where an automated scarecrow tipped his hat at passing travelers. But that wasn't the strangest thing Pete would see that day. Not by a long shot. You see, when Pete arrived at the barn, something moved. At first, he thought it was just a rat, or maybe one of his uncle's copper-plated farm machines. But then he heard a voice. Pete froze. Now, my dear listeners, if you ever hear a mysterious voice inside a barn where there shouldn't be any voices, you have two choices. 1. Turn around and walk away. 2. Step closer. And if you've been paying attention, you'll know exactly what Pete chose. That's right, he stepped closer. And what did he find? A dragon. But not a mechanical dragon. No steam-powered pistons, no brass plating, no gears whirring inside. Just emerald green scales, golden eyes, and two trembling wings curled around itself like a lost child. Pete blinked. You talk." The little dragon nodded, yes. But shock wasn't the only thing Pete felt. No, he felt something else. Something much, much bigger. The dragon who didn't even have a name looked up at Pete with nervous eyes. "I got separated from my parents," he whispered. "I don't know where I am." Pete swallowed. He could already hear his father's voice in his head. Hard work is all that matters. But this wasn't work. This was adventure, and Pete wasn't about to let it slip away. He straightened his shoulders. "I'll help you." The dragon blinked. "You with?" Pete nodded. "But first, you need a name." The little creature tilted his head. "Dragons don't name each other." Pete smirked. "Then it's a good thing I'm not a dragon." He thought for a moment. Then he grinned. "I'll call you Cogs." The dragon's eyes lit up. Cogs. A lost little dragon, a barn full of secrets, and a city that would surely how should I put this? Not take too kindly to something as magical as Cogs. But every great adventure needs a little bit of danger. Well, my dear listeners, Pete and Cog's adventure is just getting started. What mysteries lie ahead? Will they uncover the truth about Cog's family? Will Cogs ever find a home? You'll have to join me in the next video to find out. Be sure to like, subscribe, and of course ring the bell so you never miss a single tale from PJ's Storytime.